What were your fears? Were you a bike rider? Were you into cars, rock and rolls? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was very studious when I was growing up because my parents always wanted us to get a good education, good career, get an English job. To talk about the science behind it, then I've got this lovely diagram where we talk about FOMO as being a feeling. It's when say you were supposed, you go into a shop and you see something and you think, oh my gosh, I need that item.
How are you making?
Very well. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for taking this time out for us.
No, you're very welcome. I'm flattered that you would ask me.
Not at all. I made it into gallery view. Awesome. We've started the recording. I love your t-shirt, and I'm going to talk to you more about this.
FOMO creator.
Lovely. So, May, you know what? We always start every interview with one thing. We always say the shortest distance between two human hearts is a story. And so, before we begin, I'm going to tell you a short version of my story, after which you can give me a similar version of your story. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Alrighty. So, I'm going to start. My name is May King. My name is Avi Arya, father of two girls, six dogs, husband to a superwoman, a streetcar racer turned hotelier, now social media marketer and founder of Internet Moguls. Over to you. What is your hero?
My name is May King Sank. My first name is May King, and I'm on all the socials as making tea because I used to run a tea business. Did very well on social media, and that led me to my new business today, which is FOMO Creator. So, as a result of me creating a career on social media, on digital marketing, it's led me to where I am today. So now I can help to create FOMO for other conferences, events, and other businesses.
That is fantastic. So tell us a little about yourself. Where were you born? A little bit about your childhood. Were you a disciplined A plus student, or you had no idea when you were growing up? What were your fears? Were you a bike rider? Were you into cars, rock and rolls? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born in the UK. My parents came over from Hong Kong and China. My mum's from China, my dad's from Hong Kong. They moved over to the UK in the 70s. I have a brother and sister who are way cleverer than I am. And I was working for the man, working in the corporate world for most of my career. And I accidentally fell into running a business a little over 10 years ago now. I was very studious when I was growing up because my parents always wanted us to get a good education, good career, get an English job, as it
Right.
were. And so I did that for many years. And as I say, I accidentally fell into a business about 11 years ago when a friend of mine asked me to go into business with him. And after doing some research, we decided to go our separate ways, and I started my own tea business, really. But I've very similar to an Indian work ethic, family, Asian cultures are very, very similar. So it was, we worked hard, we studied hard, we played hard as well, but it was always back to the family. I don't know how to ride a bike.
Alrighty.
My mum had an accident when she was very young, so she decided that her children were not allowed to ride a bicycle. So I don't know how to ride a bicycle. So
Okay.
that's a confession.
Perfect. My grandfather, my mother's father, was born and brought up in Hong Kong, in
Oh
Peking.
wow!
They were in
Oh wow!
Peking, yes.
Right,
And the gentleman used to speak Cantonese and Mandarin very fluently. And
amazing.
so when I was born, I used to see my mom's house had all the writings from China, and they used to speak in Cantonese or Mandarin, and they had friends. So they were. It was funny. There was an Indian person,
Yeah,
very Indian looking,
Yeah.
but he was born and brought up there, so he was in his head, he was, some part Asian. So
Yeah.
that was yeah, that was good. It was big learning from him, which
Amazing.
was, yeah. So making tell us, so all of us as entrepreneurs, we are taught one thing. The basic definition of entrepreneurship is that we will help people lead better lives through a product or a service or a message that we are sharing. We will make people's lives better by giving them a product or a service. We will help transform their lives from where they are to where they want to be. So, and if you can add that value to a marketplace, then you're a good entrepreneur and you have a good product. That's what the basics of entrepreneurship are. And that's how most of the audience who will be listening to this, they'll say, yeah, that's what we are taught as well. Those are the basics. Now, what did you, when you started your journey, what was the intention behind starting a business on how you would do either of these things?
Well, I'm going to respectfully and slightly disagree with you
Sure.
there, because we can never make people do anything. My purpose for being in business is to make an impact with everybody that I meet. Anybody who looks at my stuff online, and I am the same person as you see online as you will see in real life,
Right.
and so that's what I want to do. And when I say impact, it could be a simple question, it could be helping them to amplify their voice on social media and marketing, but whatever impact it might be that someone looks at my stuff and they don't like me, but that's made an impact. So
Right.
that's my definition of being in business and being an entrepreneur, which is to make an impact with every interaction that people have with me, whether it's in person or whether it's with any of the content that I provide.
So you're saying that, so that impact is based on the values you stand for and how you see life, and it's not based on any kind of selling.
No.
Okay.
I think you'll find that, I know that, I've been watching your YouTube channel and you've met some incredible entrepreneurs like Gary Vaynerchuk, and he'll be the first person to tell you, and a lot of the entrepreneurs will be there to tell you that, if you're in business to make money, then if your passion isn't there, then you'll run out eventually. So
Sure.
my calling for being in business, as I say, is to make an impact with everyone that I meet. If I can help them in any way, and I will be able to help them with what I do, but if they want to hire me to make that impact that they can make on their audience, then that's a good interaction. But I'm not in this game to make money. That's not my passion. My passion is to make a difference.
Lovely, lovely. So for all the entrepreneurs who are listening, you start with impact, but then the math has to make sense for the expenses and the office rent and all of that. So how do you calculate that in your head?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, of course. There will be things that, on your balance sheets, profits and costs and so on. Yes, I'm not very good at the maths department, so I outsource that to someone who does know all those bits and pieces.
Right.
So my accountant, my bookkeeper will be able to help make sure that, that I'm not in deficit. But when I first started in business, there's a lot of things that I needed to do to get my name known. And as I,
Right.
deliver the presentation shortly, I want people who are watching to look at that first, in order for you to make that impact, in order for you to make money, because social media and, the internet has just democratized the way that we can do business. It means that anybody can actually start a business, but that doesn't
Right.
mean that everybody can make money. And so, everybody Googles to see if you are the real deal. And, if I want to buy something, I will buy something based on whether I know the brand or whether it's good value proposition for me. And I'm sure, your listeners will do exactly the same. If you want to buy something, you'll buy it from someone that you already know. You know the brand, you already trust the brand, you already like the brand. But if you don't know who, if you are starting a business and people don't know who you are, they don't know if they trust you, they don't know if they like you, then you have to do all of that first before you can start doing this, the selling.
So we say this a lot in our programs: get known, get leads, get sales. So you're saying that get known and getting known is an integral part of getting into the journey of.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I saw from your YouTube channel, Avi, that you went to social media marketing world, and
Yes.
I was also at social media marketing world as well. And a lot of the speakers there will have talked about know, like, trust, and you have to build that know, like, and trust. And so when you're in business, if people don't know who you are, can you prove that you know what you're talking about? Can you prove that you can sell and you can do the product or service really well? Do you have testimonials to back that up? Do you have statistics to back all of that up? You've got all of that in place, then that's when you can start building relationships with people. So yeah, absolutely. People need to get to know you, who you are. And with your wonderful team, Avi, I'm sure that they would have done the homework before, they would have done the research about who I am before they approached me. You wouldn't want anybody to be on your show, right? So it's exactly the same. So if people do their research then and they know who you are, then that's half the battle done.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I've got an amazing team. They love me, they support me. I try to love them back and support them. But when it comes to choosing guests, I do all the research myself, and I send them a link.
Right.
Yeah. So I've loved that. In fact, my daughters were supposed to be here for this interview, but they had an exam for which they could not. They didn't want to miss that. So we've interviewed Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, Pat Flynn, John Lee Dumas, Stu McLaren. We've interviewed 52 entrepreneurs from around the world. We used to leave school, skip school. I would skip work. Somebody said, I'm ready for an interview. We would fly down to your city, do an interview, and come back. Because we're building a venture together with my daughters, with us being equal partners. This is my excuse for spending time with them and teaching them some part of entrepreneurship. After COVID, we started doing everything on Zoom. So my girls are very much, like, Dad, these are the values that we've written. So which of these values are we looking for in this person? So give or take 10%, we choose people based on the values that we have and all of that. So I just wanted to give a huge shout out to them because they do a lot of the work, and especially the editing of the interview, and they write a transcript and send it to the editor. Not that the editor cannot do it himself, but they have to do some work themselves as well. Alrighty. So thank you. Like I said, thank you very much for giving us this time. It really means a lot to us. We did the research. I was not sure, if we'll get a reply in time, but you got a reply and you have a presentation for us, which meant you did take time out. And I so appreciate that. And for all the audience members, like I said, we reach out to a lot of people. Some people don't even bother to reply back. And I totally understand people get a lot of email and all of that. But you replied back and took the time out to give us a presentation, for which I'm eternally grateful. I wanted to ask you a question, which maybe nobody has ever asked you. And it's one of the most important questions on the planet. And it might be very, very tough for you to answer. And if you want to ignore it, that's totally okay. And the question is, are you a Hulk fan or an Iron Man fan? I told you it's going to be tough.
Oh my gosh. Do you know what? I actually don't know much about Iron Man. So if I had to choose between the two, I guess I'll have to choose the Hulk.
There we go. So the Hulk is going to be with us. If you don't mind, he's going to be with us for the rest of the interview.
Sure.
Alrighty, let's do it.
Okay. So, great. So, as we mentioned at the start, my name is Making Sang. I am a professional live tweeter, live social media reporter, and live content creator. And collectively, the three of them together makes me the FOMO creator. Now, as a professional live tweeter, that means I use Twitter, and I can tweet on average 1,200 tweets at in-person conferences. That's 546 tweets at a virtual conference. I've done several of those this year, and we can do a reach of anything from 45,000 to 31 million people. I've helped to hashtag trend on the same day is International Women's Day. I've also helped hashtags to trend in the States and also in Australia as well. And because I tweet so quickly, Twitter sometimes thinks I'm a robot, and they've blocked my account a few times just for about 20 minutes, and then they realize I'm a real person. And this is just a little tweet that I got from one of my clients who said that I helped them with their conference. And I'll tell you a bit more about Andrew and Pete later on. So as I mentioned, I'm also a social media reporter as well. So on the left-hand side here, you can see that when I was allowed to go out and meet people, I interviewed people, and this was me actually, Avi, at Social Media Marketing World, interviewing one of the attendees there. And this year, I've been doing a lot of virtual conferences. So via Zoom or other platforms, I've been interviewing several speakers and influencers in the space. I'm also a live content creator. So again, last year at an event, I was able to create 22 LinkedIn posts. So I was listening to the speakers. I wrote about them and created a LinkedIn post per speaker. And on the right-hand side, this is a virtual digital challenge. So this was an event that was running for an hour every day, and these are just some of the stats behind that event. So I can create FOMO for both when we're allowed to meet people and also at virtual events as well. But before we start, I guess we should talk about what is FOMO. So FOMO is the fear of missing out. And if you were to Google it, it will say that FOMO is anxiety that an exciting or interesting event may currently be happening elsewhere, often aroused by posts seen on social media. And really, FOMO amplifies the buzz and excitement to your conference, to your digital challenge, to your product or service launch. And I've created FOMO for all of those. So to talk about the science behind it then, I've got this lovely diagram where we talk about FOMO as being a feeling. It's when you say you were supposed, you go into a shop and you see something and you think, oh my gosh, I need that item. That is a feeling. You love that item. You want to buy that particular item. Now, let's supposing you walked into the shop and you thought you'd look at the price before you decide whether to buy it. Well, this is the logical brain, the neocortex that's kicking in. So your brain is actually telling you, do I really need to buy that thing? Maybe I need to look at the price. How much money do I have in my account? That kind of thing. So, and then on top of that, you've also got the midbrain or the social brain. Now, as human beings, we are social creatures, which means that we like to hang out in communities. We like to belong to a community. So it might be that you really like a hat from, a baseball cap from Adidas, and you like the brand Adidas. So you trust them. Now, if you've seen a product, a hat that you like, but you're not sure of the brand, well then this is where, again, our brain sort of looks at maybe the price, maybe looks at the design of the product before you make a decision as to when to buy it. So using the midbrain and the neocortex together, okay, that FOMO really bridges the gap between social media and PR. So the midbrain is really kind of like the PR engine for a brand. So if you know about the brand, then they've done their PR really well. So they've got press releases, they've appeared on radio, TV, and so on. And if they've done their social media really well, that's a logical part of the brain. You've started to build your brand, and people started to know you, like you, and trust you. When you then create a product launch or a business launch or a digital launch or a conference launch, then the excitement, if lots of people are talking about you and getting excited about you, that's the FOMO bit. So that's the primal bit. FOMO is a feeling. So before we get to FOMO, though, as I say, if you're starting a business, or if you are wanting to get more people to know about your business and trust your business, then there's lots of things you need to do first. You need to start with your brand. Now, every business owner is a brand, and we need to get our brand online. We need to start building relationships with people. We also need to showcase that we are an authority in our field. And this is where the FOMO starts. If you can showcase that you are a leader in your field, then people will start to know you, they start to like you, they start to trust you. And you can also create your notoriety. So it's really about fame, as it were, online. And you can do that for yourself, or you can appear on TV and radio, and I'll show you how to do that later. And also direct connectivity. So if you've done all of those bits at the top, then this is where your sales and referrals can come in. Now, let's start with branding then. So according to David Breer, branding is the art of differentiation. It's the way that consumers identify and experience a product, service, or person from the look, taste, feel, or sound. So every business online is a brand, and you need to see yourselves, or your clients need to see themselves as a brand. So last year when I was working with this lady, I had a microphone, I branded it to her brand. I don't do this often, but I even painted my nails with her brand colors. On the right-hand side here, I was interviewed, it was about a month ago actually, by a company called Quick. And I happened to have one of their hats. So, I wore the hat purely for branding. And part of my branding is that I have a big laugh. I like people to remember me for my laugh. And one of the viewers there actually, confirmed that, that I do like to laugh a lot. And here, this is one of my other clients. And again, I am wearing their brand. I'm using their branded microphone, and I just happen to have a hat in the same color as well. So FOMO tip number one, absolutely everything in your business starts with your brand. And you can see here that I've just given you a few ideas on, your website is a representation of you, and when you are meeting people in person, what does your business card say about you? Is it a good representation of you and your brand? When you're meeting people virtually, is your website clear? All your social media accounts, are the bios very clear? Is your profile picture very clear? Is it an up-to-date photograph? All these little things will give an indicator to the people who are watching you to see if you are a brand that people will like. Now, appearance is very important. So, today I'm wearing my FOMO Creator t-shirt, and I wear a hat purposely because that's how I like to be remembered. When you are meeting people, last year when we were actually physically meeting people, when you spoke to people, did you leave a good impression? That is also a representation of your brand. And when we are meeting people virtually, this year, Zoom meetings or in LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups, if you're a member of memberships, or if you're writing courses or delivering courses, how do you come across? This is all part of your branding. And branding is also people's perception of you. What do people think about you? If you are giving great information online, if you've got all of those bits of pieces in place, then people will start talking about you, and hopefully they will say good things about you. So this is so important. In order to create FOMO, before you even create FOMO, you have to start with your brand, and absolutely everything that you do online is to do with your brand. So the next bit then is to build relationships then. So, again, last year we were allowed to meet people. And so this is me in the middle there. And I was just having a laugh and joke with a few people on the table. This is probably my favorite book for business, but it's actually very good for personal as well in your life. It was a book written in the 1930s, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's still very relevant today as it was when it was first written. So I do recommend, if you want to read a book for life and for business as well, for anyone who has a career, it is a really, really good book. I do recommend that. Now, building relationships virtually, as we are doing this year, these are different places that you can build relationships: at conferences, at memberships, digital challenges, when you're networking, Twitter chats, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, and then also on Zoom, WhatsApp, and Messenger as well. So at a virtual conference, you tend to go to a conference because you want to listen to the speakers, but because virtual conferences, a lot of the speakers are actually recorded, why not network with people who are attending the event? So this is what I did at Cambridge Social Media Day. So I wrote blog posts, I wrote Instagram stories, I wrote social media posts on LinkedIn, also on Twitter as well. On the day, this was leading up to the conference, so I call this pre-FOMO. And then on the conference day itself, I would search on the hashtag CSN Day 2020 to see who was talking about it on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and I would look at people and maybe start building relationships with people. And then after the conference as well, again, I would search on the hashtag to see who is talking about the conference and start trying to build relationships with people. Now, at digital challenges, you can do exactly the same. So there are, this year, there were a lot of digital challenges that I took part in or I was hired to create FOMO for. And during the challenge, I would talk to other people who were also taking part in the challenge, and I would engage and I would network. So I wouldn't just like people's posts, but I would start talking to people. Now, at the bottom here is a very important message. It's something that I do talk about quite a lot when I'm speaking, which is to create content for the lurkers. Now, what I mean by that is, I mean, Avi said before, you know, he does all his research before he decides who he's going to have on to interview. So he probably lurked on my stuff. He probably had a quick look, you know, research on my stuff. So if he's doing it, then your potential clients are doing it. And I know sometimes I do it as well. But if I read a blog post that I really enjoy, I will comment on it and I will say, thank you so much. You know, it's just nice to be a nice human being, but it's also good reflection of your brand as well. So it helps to build your brand by being nice to people. So that's what I mean by create content for the lurkers. So FOMO tip 2, when you're networking online, network as you would when you are, you know, meeting people in real life like we did last year, and create content for the lurkers. So if you've seen a post that you like, you've read it, why not add a comment to it? Because other people are lurking and you never know when people see your comments. And if they see your name here, there, and everywhere, then you never know when people will actually want to find out who you are. So the next tip is to showcase your authority. So this is, you know, I have on all the socials that I'm the world's number one FOMO creator, but I need to prove that. So I will write blog posts or I will write LinkedIn articles, but I want lots of people to look at it. So I use this platform called lately.ai, and what it allows me to do is I may have generated a video or created a blog post. I put my link in here, and using AI, click on auto generate content and it will generate lots of social media posts from that one link. Now, what most people tend to do is they may write an Instagram post and say, you know, click on this link to read more about this video, to watch this video, or to read this blog post. But if your video is 10 minutes long and you've got lots of different points you want to put, you want more people to look at, then you may want to use something like lately.ai so that you can create lots of social media content from that one link. So that's what I use to prove that, to showcase that I know what I'm talking about. And I will then schedule those posts onto Twitter or onto Instagram or onto LinkedIn, Facebook as well. Now, I am in the digital marketing space, so I'm not the only expert in FOMO creation. I'm the world's number one. I've already said that, but there are lots of experts that I can definitely learn from in the digital marketing space. So I will share their knowledge. And so when I went to Social Media Marketing World this year, I live tweeted. I created tweets for myself, and you can see here I created 1,500 tweets on that. I think this is on day 2. And for Content Cal was one of my clients. They had to schedule social media posts, and I tweeted for them as well. This is me interviewing Andy from Content Cal. But you can, when you listen to speakers, you can share great knowledge on Instagram stories, on Instagram posts, on LinkedIn posts, and when you share other people's knowledge in your industry, then you are showcasing that you are an authority. So you don't just need to write your own post, you can share other people's posts and also comment on it. And as you can see, I've said here, like, share and comment other people's posts to build your brand, to build your reputation. You can also guest blog, you can create blogs for other people if you want to. And as you get more and more known, you will be invited to appear on podcasts, for example. So last year, I appeared on a handful of podcasts, and I've kept them all in a space in Pinterest on making tea/making FOMO podcast. And so because more and more people are inviting me to appear on a podcast or doing a Zoom call like this, it means that it's increasing my brand, but also showcasing my authority. And so you can also do that for yourself as well. So tip number 3 is to showcase your authority with your vlogs, with your blogs, with your podcasts, but more importantly, definitely like and share and comment on other people's posts within your industry. Now, number 4 is notoriety. So trying to gain publicity for yourself. And you can do it by searching on 2 hashtags here, journo request or help a reporter out, HARO. So that's how you can use social media in order to find opportunities for you to appear on TV, appear on radio, appear in magazines, or appear in a book like I have here. And so these are just a selection of ways that I have appeared on all of those mediums. Now, I actually lived in Australia for 6 years, 2010 to 2016, and I had to build my business from scratch. And I did exactly the same thing that I'm telling you now of how to build my business. I built my brand, I built relationships, I showcased my authority. And, within a year or 2, I was able to appear on TV, on radio, and appear in several books. I came back to the UK in 2016. I had to do exactly the same thing again. I built my brand, I wrote on LinkedIn, showcased my authority, built relationships, and within a year, I appeared on TV and radio and national magazines. So you can create your own PR as well and create your own FOMO. And this is a lady who did exactly that. She has a membership scheme to help. She has a membership to help people who have pet businesses. So Avi, I know you're a lover of dogs. She's got 7 dogs. You'll love Rachel Spencer. She helps pet businesses, and so she helps the people in her members to create FOMO for themselves. So she created one Instagram post, talked about her membership program, and within that one post she actually got 2 signups. Now in reality, it wasn't that one Instagram post that created 2 new clients or 2 new members. It was because she posted consistently. She built her brand. She showcased her authority. She's got a podcast. She wrote blog posts, and people were lurking on her stuff before they became a member. And she also used that Instagram story and put it into a tweet as well. So FOMO tip 4, to create your own PR or hang out with journalists on Twitter, use the hashtag journo request or HARO to look for those PR opportunities to help you to get onto TV or radio or national magazines. Or you can create your own PR on social media, just like Rachel did, which I showed you just then. So the 5th tip then is direct connection. So if you've built your brand, if you've built relationships, if you showcase your authority, if you've created your own notoriety, or you're hanging out with journalists and looking for PR opportunities, if you've done all of that, you will get clients. And this is just a few stories of which I was able to create clients for myself. So I was at a conference, I live tweeted, and when I live tweeted, this lady was liking some of my posts, and then we ended up in a conversation. Lenka Kopova, turns out that she is founder of a conference. We started talking, and then she became a client of mine. So I created FOMO for her in 2018, last year, and also this year as well. And on the right hand side, again, there was another conference, Social Day, where I live tweeted one of the speakers, and one of the speakers was very impressed with what I did. We got into a relationship, we went into the DMs, the direct messages, and then I ended up being hired by Comms Hero. So you can also create clients with the content that you put out on social media for those lurkers. Remember I said create content for the lurkers, and you don't know how long they've been watching your stuff, but if you keep consistently creating good content, showcase what you do, showcase those testimonials, then people will eventually come to you. So this is just an example of a lady who did approach me. She'd been watching me on Instagram for quite a while, and then I eventually delivered some training to some of her sponsors for a virtual conference that she did this year. And then this lady, she's postponed her conference until next year, but she saw what I did in San Diego, and so that's why she hired me. She was going to hire me, and she's based in Australia. So it doesn't always take days to get clients. Sometimes it can take a long time. So for this particular client, it took 18 months. She was lurking on my stuff for quite a while. So remember I said I came back to the UK in 2016, I think it was, and I was asked to speak in 2018, and this is where this particular client was looking at my stuff, and she'd been watching me on LinkedIn and also on Twitter and also on Instagram. And then finally this year she asked me to quote my prices, and so she became my client. So FOMO tip number 5, if you've built your brand, you've built relationships, you've created your authority, you've created PR for yourself, you can then create relationships with people and actually send direct messages and start building relationships and start reaching out to people and go into the direct messages in order to convert those clients, those referrals into clients, or people that you've reached out, and you can make them into clients as well. So just a few case studies then. This was at Atomicon. So this was last year. Andrew and Pete had a conference. I knew they had a conference, and I was watching their stuff. So I was lurking on their stuff for quite a while. And I met them, I think they were speaking in San Diego, actually. This is a couple of years ago. And I asked them, would they like a live tweeter? And they said, we'd like you to do Facebook and Instagram if that's okay as well. And I said, yes, I can absolutely do that. So these are just some of the stats. I did 15 interviews. I went onto Facebook 5 times during the day, and I also tweeted 1,030 times on their account and also my account. And as a result of the FOMO that I generated, alongside a very well marketed social media strategy plan, they managed to sell 425 tickets within a week for this year's conference. Now, this year's conference was supposed to be in person, but in the end, they had to turn it into a virtual one because of COVID. But in that conference, the virtual conference, I went in live every day. And I also went on Instagram stories. I did some Twitter as well, did some tweets. They were very happy with what we did. And so they've hired me again for next year. Another conference last year, again, was in person, and we created the account from scratch. We reached, they had a target to sell 80 tickets, but because they hired me for 3 months before to create FOMO for them, to talk about the event and give them lots of ideas on live social media content, they actually sold 130 tickets. And so they hired me for this year. And again, this year it's a virtual conference. They hired me 10 days before the actual event itself. And with the FOMO that I created, it led to a 350% increase in ticket sales in the last 10 days, which was an overall 25% of their sales. And these are just some of the stats that I created for them. And they also asked me to speak as part of that conference as well. That's pretty much it, really. There's lots of ways in which you can create FOMO for yourself, whether you are a conference, whether you are a digital challenge, whether you have a book launch or a product launch or a service launch. And I've created FOMO for all of those. And I've talked about some of them in presentations that I've delivered or in podcasts. And so I mentioned about on Pinterest, you can listen to all the interviews that I've done over the last 2 years. But I've also delivered lots of presentations and talks as well. So on my YouTube channel, there is a presentation on how to create FOMO for your business on social media right now. I've given you 8 different ideas there. A lot of my presentations are on slideshare.net, so you can also go there. And one of the presentations is how to create FOMO and become a social influencer. That's one of the talks on SlideShare there. But that's pretty much it, really. I don't know if there are any questions at all, but I will stop the share. Maybe hand it back over to Avi, and maybe we can have a bit of a chat, perhaps.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I was busy taking notes. That was awesome. So, like you said, I do have a few questions on behalf of the audience. So, I loved what you said about the lurkers, because, we always say that there are, you make a great post, it touches the heart, you get 100 likes, 50 comments, it's a great post. But there may be still hundreds of other people who are passively engaging and saying, wow, I love this, but didn't take the time to. So these passive engagers, you're saying these are lurkers, and over a period of time, they do find it in, they are moved and they're like, you know what, I need to respond to this. Or I know this person creates posts constantly on FOMOing or tweeting, and they get in touch with you for business. So there is no effort that you make on social media that goes waste.
Absolutely not. And, I think a lot of people focus on the wrong metrics. You'll have heard this before, Avi. People talk about the vanity metrics. They worry
Right.
about how many followers they have, how many fans they have on Facebook. And I don't worry about any of that. I worry about, creating content for the lurkers. And sometimes I'll go on Instagram stories and I'll, do a little story, a personal story. And sometimes I'll get a message, a couple of weeks later, and they'll ask me, how was your, I don't know, how was your meal or something like that. And they never liked my post, they never commented on it, but they were lurking. And so, sometimes for businesses, they look at how many likes they've got, or how many fans or any followers, and then they think that social media isn't working for them. And the thing is that there are so many people looking, but they just don't know it yet. So if they consistently, like I said in that presentation, there was one of my clients who'd been lurking on my stuff for 18 months before she stepped forward. So sometimes that happens. Sometimes it happens as quick as a day that I can get clients. So. Oh, you're on mute there, Avi. I can't hear you.
So, like you said in the beginning, you focus on creating non-stop value for your clients, and the clients come on their own when they see the value and all of that. And the second thing you said was you're not counting 40, 50 followers. You're saying there might be many more. Keep creating content. You never know who's sharing with who, but don't stop on your journey. Okay. Third,
Absolutely.
when people follow your method, because the idea of every interview of ours is for people to take a method, in this case, take Making's FOMO method, make it your own, practice it for a couple of weeks and say, you know what, this is working for me. You take something from Gary Vaynerchuk, whoever we bring into the show, we ask them strategic questions and request them to share presentations so that it allows you to go back. I'm talking to the audience, for allows all of you to go back with a blueprint to say, this on this interview I got a blueprint. Now how do I structure it and see results for myself? So for people wanting to follow Making's FOMO blueprint, how much time would you advise to them to say, stick to it for some time before you start seeing some traction?
Well, as I say, there's a lot that needs to be done before FOMO comes about. So,
Sure.
if you are a business owner, you have to do social media, consistently well. And then when you've got something that you want to share, like a new product or a new service launch or a new digital challenge, that's where the FOMO comes in. That's where you're creating that feeling. So you already have built your community. Your community is already, engaged and they love what you do, but you are now offering them something else and you want them to get so excited they don't want to miss out. So there's a lot that needs to be done before the FOMO bit, which is to ensure that you've got your digital marketing strategy, in place, and you've got that engaged audience, or you have got a community that you can start talking to. But you have to provide value first. So, so if you haven't got that in place, then I suggest you go back to basics and start to build your brand and start to share your things. And then now and again, that's when you've got something of value to offer, which is a product or service launch, that's when you can start creating, it's a new campaign around that new launch that you're having, which sits on top of whatever you've already built on social media.
Got it.
So to answer your question about the blueprint, there's a lot of work that needs to be done beforehand in building your brand and gaining that reputation that you are a leader in your authority, in your field rather. And then when you have something that you want to showcase, a new new masterclass that you're running or a new workshop that you're running, then creating a campaign around that. That's when you start to start kicking in that FOMO, as it were. So getting people excited and so on.
Got it. Perfect. Sounds good. Now, my last question making is that people who have absolutely loved everything that you spoke about, from creating impact and not running after money, to making sure, to talking about the lurkers, having a blueprint in mind, how can they get in touch with you, and which is the best channel? Do you have something? There are many ways to go down the rabbit hole, but what is that one piece of content you like? Go here to my podcast or listen to that piece of information, and that's where you get to know me from.
I would say from my YouTube channel, it's got a bit of a mixture. So, there are a couple of training courses on there on how to create FOMO if you want to learn a little bit yourself. I've got testimonials out there from people, but I've also I do a lot of interviews with people as well, and so the interviews will really help to showcase your business. And this is how I'm creating FOMO for businesses that
Got it.
don't have a conference or an event, but they have a product or service to sell. So by interviewing them, I'm putting it onto my channels, and giving them a bit more publicity. So my YouTube channel, FOMO Creators, probably where you'll see a little bit of everything.
That sounds fantastic. Making, from me and my daughters, my 6 dogs, and everybody in my team, we wish you all the very best. And we thank you so much for taking out time for us and sharing this information with all of us. Thank you so
It's my
much.
absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, Avi.
Not at all. And I will just end this interview by giving my story again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Once again, this was Making on the Ask Avi Arya Show. This is Avi Arya, father of 2 girls, 6 dogs, husband to a superwoman, a streetcar racer turned hotelier, now social media marketer, and founder of Internet Moguls. Counting my blessings every day to be able to spend time with amazing entrepreneurs like Making. And hopefully, look forward to seeing you 2021 social media marketing world.